Hey guys, so I'm going to try to make a long story short. For Christmas Eve, we did a potluck at my in laws, and I agreed to make jumbo stuffed shells. I didn't know how many shells I was going to need to fill this big tray that I bought, so I bought 2 boxes of these jumbo shells. Well, it turns out one box was enough. There was about 44 shells in this big box. So I have this box left over, and I have some ricotta cheese left over. I don't know, maybe a little less than half. And I have some parsley left over. Well, then on Christmas Day, we were supposed to go to someone else's house, and I was going to make a couple quiches and some other things. So I bought this big pack of mushrooms to make some mushroom quiche. But then I ended up getting sick, and we ended up not going anywhere on Christmas Day. We just stayed home. So now I have this big container of mushrooms that's been sitting in my fridge for 4 days that I have to use up. So I think I am going to take these mushrooms, this leftover ricotta, and I'm going to see if I have some spinach. I think I do in the freezer. And I think I'm going to make mushroom ricotta spinach stuffed shells. And instead of marinara sauce, I think I'm going to use vodka sauce. I have a jar of really good vodka sauce that we got on clearance some months ago. And I have 1 or 2 left. And I think, honestly, that is going to be delicious. Again, I don't have a recipe for this. I'm kind of just using what I have and thinking of what I can come up with. And this is what I have right now. I have ricotta, mushroom, spinach, stuffed shells in vodka sauce. And that's going to be dinner. So let's see how it turns out. You know what? This huge container of mushrooms is going to be way too much just to make those stuffed shells. So what am I going to do? Before I wash anything, I'm going to take out the stems, trim the ends off, and I'm going to saute the stems and use them as part of the filling. And I might be able to make stuffed mushrooms if the stems are enough to make the stuffed mushroom spinach shells. So I'm using up the ends, and then I can make stuffed mushrooms with the actual caps. How great would that be? Getting 2 dishes out of these mushrooms. I'm going to wash this up later because I feel like if I'm not going to use the caps now, then I don't want to wash them or anything. I'll just leave them just like this until I use them. But let's see if the stems are enough. Okay, I'm going to keep separating these and I'll be back in a bit. Okay, so I took all the stems out of the mushrooms and I ended up with about 2 cups of stems. So I'm going to use those to make the filling. And I have about a cup of frozen, thawed, and very firmly squeezed spinach. You want to make sure it's really dry because you don't want soggy shells. And I have about half a cup of onion that I chopped up that I'm going to saute with the mushrooms. And what I'm doing now is I have some leftover parsley from when I made the shells on Christmas Eve. So I'm going to use some of that for the filling. But you don't want the stems in there. All right. And I took out of the fridge about 8 garlic cloves. I'm going to saute that with the onion, but I have to mince it up first. Look at these cute little measuring cups. Adorable. Little porcelain pastel measuring cups. My mother-in-law got me these for Christmas. They're so adorable. And they go with like my vintage kitchen here with the pastel orange and the backsplash. So cute. So I'm just going to mince this up. And then I have a little tiny bit left over, which I'm going to use to garnish later because you eat with your eyes first, right? So if I have it, might as well use it. All right. So I'm going to put this parsley in here. I'm going to use it for the filling. All right. Get that all off of here. And now I'm going to chop up the garlic. Okay. Just crushing them first makes it easier to mince. All right. All right. Get that in here. Just like that. Okay, got my minced garlic. And now I'm gonna chop up the mushrooms. In all of this, saute the mushrooms and the onions and the garlic. And then I'm gonna mix it into the ricotta with the parsley and the spinach. Oh, the water's boiling. Let me get the shells in. You know what? I don't want to dump them in because then I feel like they might crack because they're kind of fragile. So I'm just putting them in handful at a time so that they're not all banging into each other. Another cracked one. All right. I know I mentioned this when I made my original stuffed shells for Christmas Eve. You want to give these a stir at least 2 to 3 times. First when you first put them in, and then once the water comes back up to a boil, you want to give them another stir because you do not want these to stick. And once they're done boiling, you want to rinse them with cold water because that'll prevent them from sticking while you're filling them one at a time. Okay, so it just started to come to a boil, so I am going to give them another mix. And if it's your first time making stuffed shells, you never boil the shells for the time it says on the package. If it says 12 minutes, you do 10 minutes because you want them a little al dente because they're going to finish cooking in the oven when you bake them with the sauce. Okay, so now I'm going to cut up the stems and I'm going to get them sauteing in a pan. You know what? I'm going to put the olive oil in the pan first. So I'm going to get that going, start getting that heated up. All right. Okay. Okay, so I'm just going to give these stems a chop. I took some of the smaller mushrooms that are like too small to stuffed, and I threw them in here too. And for those of you that are like, why are you using the stems? I know there's some people that don't use the stems. They pop the stems out of the button mushrooms and they discard the stems and they just eat the mushroom caps. But the stems are good. They're a little tougher than the caps, but if you saute them and chop them up nice and fine, they're delicious. Okay, that is fine enough. All right, so I got the mushrooms chopped up. All right, so the oil's hot. I'm gonna start by throwing in the onion. Hold on, let me make sure the oil's hot. Okay, good. I'm gonna bring you over here and we are gonna get the filling started. So I have 6 minutes on the shells. And I'm going to start by putting in the onion. And I'm going to season that with some pink Himalayan salt. Just like that. We're going to do some black pepper. And we're going to do some Italian seasoning. Where is it? Here it is. Okay. We're going to do a little bit of Italian seasoning, just like that. Okay, I'm going to throw the mushrooms in. Okay, so I'm going to let that cook down, release its water, get nice and sauteed, and then I'm going to put the garlic in. So I'll be back in 5 minutes. Okay, if you look here, it's only been 2 minutes, but you see all that liquid there? Let me zoom in. You see all that liquid? That's the mushrooms and the onions releasing their liquid. You do not want that liquid in your stuffing because if not, the shells will be liquidy inside. So you want to cook this until all that liquid disappears. So I'm just going to give it a stir, spread it all out again, and let it cook for another 3 to 4 minutes until all that liquid is released and evaporated. Okay, I'm going to add the garlic now. Okay. And I'm going to give it a nice stir. Okay. We'll let this cook down. Okay, the 10 minutes is up on the timer for the shells. I'm going to turn those off. I'm going to get my nifty little gadget here, and I'm going to go drain these in the sink and rinse them with cold water. Okay, guys, so if you look right here, there's no more liquid. The onions are soft. The mushrooms are soft. The garlic is fragrant. This is done, so I'm turning it off. And I'm going to let it sit here for a minute and cool a little bit while I get the ricotta and the spinach and everything started for the rest of the filling. Okay, so I have my ricotta cheese. I drained the water off. I'm going to guess there's about maybe a cup and a half of ricotta left. So that was left over from making stuffed shells on Christmas Eve. And to this, I'm going to add about 1.5 tablespoons of parsley. And I'm going to add a cup of frozen, thawed, and squeezed spinach. And just try to break it up with your hands as you're putting it in there because you don't want big clumps of spinach. You want everything to get well incorporated with the ricotta and the mushrooms and the onions. Just like that. I'm just breaking it up with my hand as I go. Okay. All right, so that was about a cup of spinach. And now, the mushrooms and the onions are seasoned, but you have to remember that the ricotta cheese is very bland and the spinach has no seasoning. So you want to season every layer. So I put some Italian seasoning in the mushrooms, and in here, believe it or not, I'm going to put a little bit of adobo. And adobo has salt, pepper, it has garlic in it, it has oregano, it has turmeric, and it's just an all-purpose seasoning, and it's actually very delicious. So I use it a lot for everything, anything from meats to vegetables, I use it. Okay, so now I'm going to get my filling off the stove. I'm going to put that in there. All right. And I'm also going to add about a cup of mozzarella cheese. Shredded mozzarella. I have this huge bag that I bought. So I'm adding about a cup of mozzarella cheese. You know what? I'm going to make it 2 cups. Okay. And I'm also going to put a little bit of parm. A little bit of Parmesan. It's about half a cup of Parmesan. Okay. So now I'm going to get in here with this fork. And oh, I need an egg. I'm gonna put 2 eggs in here because you need something to help bind this all together, and the egg is what's gonna do that. So I'm gonna put 2 eggs in here. I could probably make do with 1, but I'm just gonna do the 2. I always do 2. Okay, now I'm gonna get in here with the fork and get this all mixed in. Just mixing this, I could smell the garlic and the mushrooms. It smells so good. Okay, I'm gonna get this well combined and I'll see you in a few minutes. Okay guys, so I'm gonna bake these in this glass dish. And I am not, when I made the regular stuffed shells, I sauteed onion and garlic and everything. And then I put the marinara sauce and the sauteed onion, I let it simmer. I'm not doing that this time because I am gonna use this amazing bottle of vodka sauce. This stuff is so good. It's like $12 a jar, or it was at the store that we go to, but it was on clearance. I guess they discontinued it. I don't know. So we got it for $1 something a jar. Super good stuff. So I think this is my last jar actually. So I'm gonna use this as the base for my shells. And this has a ton of flavor. So I don't need to add anything to this at all. And there's chunks of onion in here. There's so much seasoning in here. A little bit more. There we go. Okay. That is a nice bed of sauce for the shells. Put a little bit here. You know what? I might as well just use the whole jar. There's really not that much left. All right. That is that. Okay, so that's my bed of sauce. Stretch it out nice and even. Okay, so I am gonna start filling my shells. And I am gonna do an assembly line. Okay, so I'm gonna put my tray with the sauce on the stove. And right next to that, I am gonna put the filling right here. And next to that, I am gonna bring over the pot of shells. So I'm gonna have the shells, the filling, and the sauce in an assembly line just like this. And I'm gonna start filling and putting them in the sauce. Okay, so get your shell, get a scoop of your filling, put it right in there, just like that, and voila, look at that, perfect little shell. And now I'm gonna put it over here in the vodka sauce. Yum. All right. Okay, so I'm gonna keep filling. Okay, so all the shells are stuffed. And now I am gonna sprinkle some shredded mozzarella right on top. Just put as much as you like. About a cup should do. But if you like it cheesier, do a little bit more. All All right. Now, it is only 12 o'clock in the afternoon, but I am doing this because today I have the time to do it. So I am just going to cover this and leave it on the stove. I'm going to cover it tightly with aluminum foil. I'm going to do a piece like that. And an overlapping piece like that. All right. That is nicely tight wrapped. Okay. This in a 350-degree oven for 30 minutes. Then you're going to uncover it and put it under the broiler for 2 minutes just to get the top nice and toasty brown, which is delicious. Okay, I'll see you in 30. Okay, guys, so the oven, I just took these out of the oven. They've been in there at 350 for half an hour. And now I'm going to remove the foil. And I'm going to put them back in for 2 minutes under the broiler. Look at that. Now that looks delicious. So now I'm going to put these back in the oven for 2 minutes under broil high. And if you can see how the sauce is bubbling on the corners and the cheese is all melted. Look at that. Super yummy. Okay, guys, I just took it out of the oven. I had it on broil for 3 minutes. And the cheese is a little toasty brown. You hear it sizzling and crackling. Look at that. The sauce is boiling. This is going to be delicious. And I am serving these mushroom spinach stuffed shells with a simple spring mix with red onion. And that's it. Easy dinner tonight. So let's get these served up. Okay, guys, and that is it. Dinner is served. We are having the mushroom spinach delicious stuffed shells with spring mix, simple oil vinegar, red onion. That's it. Simple salad today with some spring mix and the delicious veggie stuffed shells. Thanks for watching. Hope you give these a try and bon appetit. Bye.